I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Beth and her co-founder, John. Very low there. So, Beth and John are involved in the natural language processing space, specifically in a field called natural language understanding, which is a subfield of natural language processing. For those of you who are not aware of what this is, natural language understanding is essentially trying to make computers think, understand language like a human does. So what that means is like, computers can understand words at the moment. So if you show a picture of a rabbit, they can understand a rabbit, but they cannot understand context. So if I said the rabbit stood on the stage and then went to the kitchen, where is the rabbit? Computers can't do that at the moment. Beth and John have started their own company called Pat.ai, I believe. Yeah.
Pat.ai is the website.
Pat.ai. Using a unique model called Patom theory, which they will tell you about in a second. So let's give a big round of applause for Beth and John. And let us introduce ourselves. Cheers.
That would be a wrong screen.
Don't press that button.
Don't press the button. Can I go forward?
You should be good.
When John Ball was an undergrad student at the University of Sydney, he was challenged by a lecturer who said, computers will never understand language. And then he realised that he was passionate about machine intelligence, or obsessed with machine intelligence. And he realised too that a lot of people had gone before him and were very interested in the problem, but couldn't crack a very important and hard problem called NLU, or natural language understanding. But that was back in the 1980s. And if we fast forward to today, the open scientific problems that were around back then still exist largely today. And they are problems of word sense disambiguation, word boundary identification, context tracking, real-world knowledge. So we have these fantastic voice interactive applications. One of the best ones is from Amazon Alexa that we've heard tonight, or Echo, Google Assistant, HomePod by Apple, Bixby, Amazon's Samsung Bixby, Baidu's Little Fish. And we interact with those with commands, because we're still constrained with the underlying open scientific problems of natural language understanding. So for all the investment and all the interest in that human-computer interface, we still haven't cracked NLU. So John spent his attention, nearly all his life, focused on this problem. And we focused his research and development on this very hard problem of NLU. He came up with the brain-modelled pattern theory, which is a theory of how the brain approaches language applied to a computer. He built a prototype around that theory, and then in 2012, when he was in a bookstore in Princeton, New Jersey, he came across a book called The Structure of Language by Emma Pavey. And in it was an introduction to him of role and reference grammar, a linguistic framework, or RRG. And he believed that this held the answers, a lifetime of answers, for the world's languages. So he contacted the primary developer, Professor Robert D. Van Balen Jr., and he integrated RRG with pattern theory, and he created a meaning-based, language-independent NLU with human-like accuracy, because it focuses on meaning. By loading vocabulary and patterns and the associations or the concepts, it generalises with very small input. Not relying on training data sets, it's not vulnerable to the bias of data sets, and it's language independent. So we had, Van Balen became our Chief Science Officer, and we attracted business leaders and academics that believe we have the way forward. One of those is Professor Daniel Everett. I'm not sure, has anyone heard of Dan Everett? He became famous, he's a best-selling author. He became famous for the work he did, field research he did down in the Amazon. He went and lived with the Patom tribe. He lived and learned their language and was one of very few Westerners that have ever learned the Patom language. And in doing so, he falsified the cornerstone of Chomsky's linguistics. He also became a big fan of Van Valen's theoretical linguistics. So where are we today? John Ball and myself, the founders of PAT, bootstrapped the research and development. Last year we launched the technology in a conference called MobileBeat, VentureBeat's annual MobileBeat conference in San Francisco. And we took on angel investment to productionise the system and benchmark against intelligent dialogue tests. Now we're raising capital to load language content and to release APIs. Because as we load the vocabulary and the patterns or the associations, and John will talk a bit more about this, as we do that, we sequentially enable more applications, more language-based applications as Pat's knowledge increases. So by starting with basic vocabulary and patterns, we can enable a language learner to interact with conversation. And with more vocabulary, more patterns, associations, we build onto that knowledge and enable more conversational and more interaction and around with more complexity of human language. When we were in a meeting with Intel in Silicon Valley, they suggested that we benchmark against the Facebook AI research group or FAIRS group of intelligent dialogue tests. They